Visualize your passion. When you wake up in the morning, are you happy to start each day? Is what you're doing enriching your soul, fulfilling a purpose, and having a positive impact on society? If you said no, don't worry. You're not alone. For many people, it's difficult to feel passionate about anything. It's challenging to use your mind creatively, and it even conflicts with our need for safety, comfort, and routine. So how do you balance all these desires to be happy, excited, feel stable and safe, to watch your work grow, to spread knowledge to others, and wake up each day ready and willing to perform to the best of your ability? Well, I guess we'll never have all the answers, but perhaps we can learn from people who have found success in doing what they love. Meet Fonseca, the co-founder of VisualPolitik, a YouTube channel with tens of millions of views, which uses graphic designs, powerful imagery, movie clips, drawings, and colorful commentary to discuss international politics in Spanish and English. Even though Fonseca was picked on as a kid, he doubled down on what made him unique and special. We're here in the VisualPolitik studio to find out how he transformed a love of art and politics into a successful, innovative media brand.
Hey, I'm Louis Risk, and I'm here with Vincent D'Iso, and today our guest is Fonseca, co-founder of VisualPolitik. Fonseca, thank you very much for being here with us.
Thank you for inviting me.
Yeah. So you co-founded VisualPolitik, which is a very popular political commentary show on YouTube. Can you tell us about how you got started in politics, or how you got started in creating videos?
Well, first of all, I started creating videos since I was a child.
Mm-hmm.
Like as far as I have memory, I've been always like crazy about telling stories. I think it was because I wanted to be like every child. I wanted to be like a hero. Like my models were all this like James Bond kind of guy, but I knew that I could never get there because I was not like your athletic guy. Basically.
And where did you grow up exactly?
What?
Where did you grow up?
I grew up in Valladolid. That's in Spain, middle north of Spain.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you draw a line between Madrid and Bilbao, it's like in the middle.
Okay.
So Valladolid will be like, I don't know, for those who are watching this video or this podcast from America, that will be like, I don't know, the equivalent of Iowa. Or yeah, it'll be like a mixture of Indiana, Iowa, and Baltimore. Like it's very, very much a heritage city. We have like during the times of the Spanish Empire, Valladolid was the capital of the whole Spanish Empire, and now it's like your typical rural area, pretty boring. Like we don't have any stereotype that you can apply to people from Valladolid. Whenever some foreigner is thinking of Spain, Valladolid is the last place he thinks of. I always said that if there is an alien invasion, the safest place to be is Valladolid, because no one is gonna ever go there. All this said, I'm pretty proud of being from Valladolid.
It's a nice place. It's a nice place to be from.
Yeah, it's a nice place to be from. Like
good people.
We speak a really good Spanish. We have it's a good education. It's pretty normal place. Like nothing bad happens. Nothing good either. But yeah, it's
so you had a
place.
It was so boring that you started making videos.
Yeah, basically, probably that was it. Also, it was like, holy shit, I would love to live an adventure or something like this. Yeah. So
you were a superhero.
The closest thing
like
was to create my own superheroes. So first I started doing it on comic books. Like I was drawing my own comics. I was crazy about that when I was 6 to 10 years old. And then I discovered video. Mm-hmm. So I remember there was this I don't know how do you call it when you have like this activity that you do after class, like
after school activity.
After school activity,
right?
So there was this
smoking.
Smoking. No, I was not. I was still too young to smoke. But there was this place for movies, and they would give us like we would watch a classical movie. like I don't know, The Man Who Shot Liberty Balance or something like this. They would comment it to us, so we would know why the movie is so good, and we would start making videos. And I became big time crazy about movies. It was like my life, basically. And my hero back then was Alfred Hitchcock.
Okay.
Yeah, I saw all his movies. I read all the books about him. I was crazy about movies, telling stories, comics, drawing, and yeah, making movies, making short movies. If you watch those short movies now, probably they really suck. They were all about vampires and satanic rituals and stuff like that, because I was with, some friends, and there was heavy metal all the time as the background music, and it was pretty crazy. But well, that's how I started learning how the visual language works, and getting crazy about all these things. And then when I was 18 years old, I was studying at the art school, because I always had clear that I was meant to be a storyteller of any kind, like a movie maker or maybe an advertiser or something like this.
You also like drawing?
Yeah.
Painting?
Yeah, I was drawing, painting. My father, he's an architect. So when I was a child, my father was studying to become an architect. He was still at the university, and he was studying. And when you're an architect, your way of studying is all the time drawing these blueprints for a house. And he would throw big pieces of paper, say, okay, draw. And when he saw that I kind of liked drawing, I was like crawling back then. I was like 2 years old. He said, okay, so you know what? Here's a line. Here. Now you have to follow it with parallel lines. Boom, 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 boom. And now again. And it has to be perfectly well done. And so my father was like teaching me how to draw, and then I learned by myself, and then I went to the art school. And then in the art school also I had this teacher who was the philosophy teacher. So I was back then, I was moderately interested in politics, but not so much. But this philosophy teacher, he was like, I think he's one of the persons I owe more, because he really made me be into philosophy. Like, he was not teaching you what Socrates said or what Plato said. No, it was more like you have to understand the rational thinking. For instance, I remember one of the questions in one of the exams is, what would Epicureans would say about drugs? So you had to first put your mind into the Epicurean mindset, and so
they're good.
No, actually, no. They would never say that. Epicureans, they would be totally against drugs.
Why?
Because it makes you crave for something. Like Epicureanism is praising, like you are.
What about a non-addictive drug?
If it was non-addictive, then maybe they would like it, but not so much. Well, okay. I don't know. Anyway,
let's go past this.
So fast forward, I was there with the philosophy teacher. I fell in love with philosophy, and I started studying more on my own. And then I discovered that political philosophy was really fascinating, and it really fascinated me. So I started like studying, especially kind of liberal philosophers. From liberalism, I went more for kind of libertarianism. But since in my city there were no libertarians, because it was like Iowa, so in Iowa there are no libertarians probably. So
there are libertarians there.
Maybe in America, but in Spain it's like totally something pretty much an alien concept. So
wait, did you go through a lot of different subjects before you found that you were really interested in philosophy? Did you try a lot of things that you didn't like?
No. I really had bad teachers.
You had bad teachers?
I had bad teachers.
Except for this one?
Except for this one, and maybe other few ones. Like, for instance, my drawing teacher. Like, I mean, before I went to the art school, all my memories from my childhood are pretty actually bad. Like, I was bullied at the school. I actually... One of the reasons why I was interested in politics was also trying to change this... understand why bullying exists and try to change it. And actually, one of the few non-media things, like a more political activist causes where I've been involved, was to try to change somehow the educational system in Spain so we can get rid of bullying. And we had some meetings with the Ministry of Education in Spain and everything, because that was like I really have bad memories from my childhood.
Yeah.
But when I got to the art school, it was totally different. It was a different scenario. Teachers were way more passionate about what they taught, and one of them was this philosophy teacher. But usually all my taste, like all the things I was into, I learned them by myself, like movies, comics, drawing, all these things. I was interested in it just by itself.
Did you
But
join
philosophy was like this teacher. Yeah.
So you said you got interested in political philosophy. Did that prompt you to try to find some political groups, student groups, when you were at the school? Okay,
Yeah, when I was interested in political philosophy, then I became a member of the, well, I have to say it, and now I don't regret it, even though I don't vote for them anymore, but well, I became a member of the Conservative Party. So in Spain, in my city, it was like the PP, the People's Party. It's like this biggest force, or the second biggest party in Spain, or at least it was back then.
It's just because you didn't know very much about this party. You just said, "Oh, here's a party that's kind of maybe what I'm
it's
into."
kind of what I'm into.
Yeah.
So
These are loaded terms, though: conservative, liberal, and they mean different things in different countries. So when you say conservative in Spanish terms, what exactly does that mean?
Conservative in Spanish terms, I mean, it'll be probably the most moderate version of the Republicans.
American Republicans.
Okay. It'll be like
a moderate version.
A moderate version, like.
Is there such a thing as a moderate Republican these days, though?
Yeah, well, now these days it's
like
kind
more
of complicated.
Maybe like a John McCain or some character.
Yeah,
like
it will be kind of
Mitt
something
Romney,
like this. It'll be between
like pro-business,
between
military friendly,
between a centrist.
But
the thing is, there are, for instance, there is this big political difference between Spain and US. In US, Republicans are more federalist, so they want to give more power to the states and less to Washington.
Yeah.
In Spain, it's the other way around. Usually, conservatives are way more into giving power to Madrid,
Central,
to the capital, more centralized.
I see.
And the left wing is usually more not federalist, but like more state savvy. You know, like they are not so, because in Spain patriotism, it has a lot to do with centralism, so it's kind of both things are connected.
And you have the problem of money in politics and business intervention in government.
Yeah.
Because it seems like these days that's more of the cover-up story that the Republicans say. We want to give the power back to the people, back to the states, but meanwhile they're actually giving tax cuts for the super wealthy.
Yeah, in Spain, I mean, the thing is, there is a big difference, a totally different political culture between Spain and probably, I would include there South America too, like all the Spanish-speaking countries. There is nothing such a pro-business politician. Usually businesses are pretty connected, heavily connected with the government somehow. So even when you talk about crony capitalism in US, it's nothing compared with the crony capitalism that you can have in a country like Spain, or not to mention Argentina or Venezuela or anything. Like, it's way more based on connections. So yeah, in a way, the conservatives in Spain, they are not very, I mean, they claim to be more pro-business, but it's always like more, and this is one of the reasons why I don't vote for conservative in Spain anymore, but they have this mentality that, well, they only care about the big business, that it's heavily connected with the government or the president or something like this.
But one of your goals in the YouTube channel is to be a little bit more objective. Is that correct? You're not trying to come from a point of view as much as you are trying to report the facts.
I mean,
is that a proper assumption after watching your channel?
We are fact-based.
Yeah.
But we are, I mean, objectivity doesn't exist.
Of course.
There is no one who can be objective. But even from a theoretical, metaphysical point of view,
right?
Since the very moment where you choose one topic over the other, or you choose this quote from this politician instead of this other one, you're already creating a discourse. So you can be honest, and that's what we try to do. You can try to be non-partisan, and that's what we do. Like we don't try to convince people to stand for this ideology or to vote for this political party or anything. No, we don't. We try to give you the facts, but of course there is some in our channel and in every channel. Like whoever tells you the opposite, he's basically lying or he doesn't think about it. But definitely. Politics are always like politics. Everything you talk in media, you are choosing different parts of the reality and creating a story with it. So depending on the parts of the reality that you choose, you create one story or another story. You can try to be honest. Like if I tell you that I don't know, if I would tell you that North Korea is doing great, I would be lying. Because all the facts, all the data is telling you that they are not doing good. And there are pretty many reasons to believe that it's government's fault. But in that case, it's about honesty. But in general, in most of the cases, even in the North Korea case, you could even blame it on the American blockade or the trade boycotts or something like this. So basically, it's impossible to be objective. You can be honest, and that's what we do.
But shouldn't you strive for? I guess shouldn't your goal be to strive to be informative before you are to be persuasive?
Yeah, I mean, definitely our goal is not to be persuasive. We try to. More than informative, because we are not an informative channel. Like if you want to hear the news, don't go to VisualPolitik because we are going to tell you the news pretty late. Like now there is this.
Actually, can you just give us a summary of VisualPolitik? Like what are you trying to accomplish?
Yeah, well, VisualPolitik is a channel about explaining the trends in world international politics and economics, so people can understand it and can react to it. It's kind of a tool for empowering the citizen. So we try to do all these things that you can find in this all these pretty intellectual magazines like The Economist, Bloomberg, that are pretty much for an elite. And we try to make it easy to understand for everyone, entertaining and fun, but with the same rigor for information and facts. So because basically our foundation, I will give the same example. Imagine that there is this oil cargo ship that sinks in the coast of Mexico or whatever. And 20 minutes later, you have the interview to the captain of the ship. You have some article written by an expert who is going to tell you the impact, the magnitude of the impact, economic-wise, ecology-wise, whatever. But no one is going to talk to you about all these thousands of oil cargo ships that make it to their destinations, and they are the ultimate responsible for you to have gasoline when you go to the gas station. And that's what you really should care about. The other thing, in journalism, there is this principle. We say, when a dog bites a child, that's not newsworthy. The newsworthy is when a child is biting a dog, right? Well, that's the problem, that all the discourse that we build based on media is based on exceptional things. And we don't. That's why people cannot see the trends. Why this country is growing? Why this country is rich? Why gasoline is more expensive or cheaper in this country or in this other one. So all these things is what we try to explain you to explain our viewers.
And you first started with your own country, with Spain?
No.
Where did you start, or which country, or which geographic area?
No, since the very beginning we started with international.
Oh wow!
politics.
Okay.
Like actually, our first epiphany at the beginning, we were kind of tempted to cover, because another basic rule that we have is that all the topics that we cover, they shouldn't be covered by any other place. Like if I'm gonna tell you the same thing that Fox News or CNN is telling you, and I'm not offering you any add value, then it's not worth it to make a video for that. We always tell you something that we can add something more to what you already heard on the traditional media. So
you're very ambitious from the beginning, going internationally, not just one specific country. You
Yeah.
chose many different countries.
Yeah, it was like because at the beginning we were kind of tempted to maybe at the first time focus more on Spanish politics, but then I remember I had this discussion with my partner. It was the 6th video we were making, and I wanted to make a video about the Spanish government because we had an election like back then. It was like
When was this? When did you first start?
2016. It was March 2016 when we were in our 6th video, and I wanted to talk about the Spanish elections. And my partner Couto, he said, "No, everyone's talking about the Spanish elections. No, we're gonna make a video about Georgia."
Georgia, yeah.
Georgia, the country, not the
Yeah.
state. I said, Georgia, dude. 99% of the people that don't even know that that's a thing, that exists. It's not that they don't know where it's on the map.
Your listeners or your viewers.
Like our viewers at the beginning, we have no viewers. Like we started from zero, so I said we will never become kind of famous if we talk about Georgia. I said, let's try. So we made that video talking about Georgia, the political history of Georgia, their fiscal system, their tax reforms made by their former president Mikhail Saakashvili, and boom, it was our first viral.
Wow, really?
Yeah, like viral back then. It was like, oh, it got to 10,000 views. That's amazing. And now it's like we get way more, right? But at the beginning it was like 10,000 views. That's amazing. And it was talking about Georgia. Who knows where Georgia is on the map? That's why. That's why we realize that people want to know different things. They don't want to confirm their views. They want to learn.
Right. Any idea where the majority of those viewers were coming from?
Spain and South America.
Spain and South America.
All the videos we have in VisualPolitik, the Spanish. VisualPolitik comes in 2 languages. We have VisualPolitik, the Spanish version, and the English version. The Spanish version, our audience is concentrated in Spain and South America, different South American countries, Argentina, Colombia. We have a big audience in Peru, big audience in Mexico, of course, and then the English-speaking channel. We have a big audience, of course, in America, and then an audience in Canada, in UK, Australia, New Zealand, India as well, and then, well, of course, English international. So you have audiences everywhere. But mainly is US and UK.
How did you do your
by the way, hello, American viewers. We love you.
And how did you do your research for Georgia, or just in general?
I didn't make that video. So it was my partner who is crazy about Georgia. The thing is...
Okay.
The thing is, we started this channel. The idea, we started the channel because we said, look, we love politics. And when we say we love politics, is we are really passionate about politics. We've been... All the team that started VisualPolitik, I don't know how to put it.
You're passionate about it.
Yeah, but when you say you're passionate about it, the problem is that usually not so many people are passionate about things, right? Like people say they are passionate about traveling, or they love traveling, they love doing sightseeing, that's their passion. And I always think, no, dude, you don't love traveling. You just like traveling just like anybody else. That's not a passion. That's a hobby. When you're passionate about something, it means that you are obsessed about something, that you get up in the morning thinking of Venezuela, that when you're having a date, the first thing you want to know about your partner, your potential new partner, is what she stands for.
Is she into Venezuela too?
What?
Is she into Venezuela as much as me?
Yeah, no, totally. And you ask, for instance, my partners, when we started the channel, they were in Fiji, working there for some international cooperation thing. So you ask them about Fiji, they're not gonna tell you what do they eat in Fiji, or how beautiful the Fijian beaches are, or no, they're gonna tell you Fiji, I think they have a really stupid tax system, and I really think they have good chances to grow, but they should do this and that and that. I went to the supermarket. That's what they do. They go to Poland and they go to the supermarket, my partners, and well, I do the same. We go to the supermarket and we check the prices. We compare it with the Spanish prices, so we see more or less if there is a trend. We look at the pavement of the streets to see more or less if they waste a lot of money in trying to make the cities beautiful or not. So we can see more or less how if they are more responsible when it comes to public spending or not.
Do you talk to a lot of the people there? Different kinds of people?
Of course. Like, this is what we do. We are crazy about politics. I'm telling you.
It's funny because there's a lot of people that consciously choose to ignore politics. And in some circles, it's taboo to even bring it up. And I've been in conversation with people that just, I don't want to talk about politics. Let's not get into it. I just choose to ignore it. What would you say to these people who are kind of just constantly turning the light off or closing their eyes and ignoring politics? Because essentially everything is politics, isn't it? How do you motivate these people to actually get involved?
That's the problem. The problem is the majority of the people, they understand politics is what you see in Fox News. People arguing, people saying, you are this, you are that, you're a liberal, you're a fascist. Or what Donald Trump said and the last Donald Trump's affair. That's not politics. That's to politics what the gossips in the locker room of the Chicago Bulls is to sports. Okay, it's interesting, but that's not sports. When you are thinking about sports, you are thinking about how to play better basketball, why, I don't know, Michael Jordan is better than Magic Johnson, or the other way around. I don't know anything about sports. But but you know what I mean.
He was obsessed. That's
politics are about why this country is wealthier than this other one. How is this tax system gonna work? Why is it better than this other one? Or how could we improve our educational system? And those things, definitely, they affect you. And they affect everybody. And people who say, no, it doesn't affect me. No, it does affect you. Actually, the fact that in Spain, we have a lot of people moving out of the country because they don't have a job, that has a political reason. So politics affect your life and you should know about it. And it's also a way of empowering yourself. I would say to these people, look, when you look at these wealthy, successful businessmen, they are reading The Economist, they are reading Bloomberg, they are reading all those magazines. Why? Well, maybe there is a reason. Maybe they are part of the reasons that explain their success is because they know more about the reality than the other people around them, and they can play with it, right? So this is gonna sound very, very Marxist, but if the wealthy, they have more information about what's going on in the world, maybe now it's time that the non-wealthy people also have that information and learn how to utilize it on their favor.
And what happens then? What happens when we're all informed?
Well, so we make better decisions. And we make better decisions, we don't complain so much, and we really do something good with our lives, and probably we would save our societies from populist politicians. Because there is a big problem now that, now and always, that if people are not informed on their decisions, they don't know anything about politics, they don't know anything about economics, they are victims of any snake oil seller who comes to them and tells them,
your lives are horrible.
Your life is horrible, but
me.
I have this super easy solution to make
I
it better.
alone can fix it.
And what?
I alone can fix
I
it.
alone can
your
fix
problems.
it. And of course, here I'm talking about Donald Trump, but here I'm talking also about Bernie Sanders, and here I'm talking about Marine Le Pen in Europe, and all these political candidates that are offering easy solutions to people who don't understand how things work, but they only understand that they are bad. And they need someone to solve their situation. If that people could understand how things are really working, would be better off.
Mm-hmm. And is that essentially the mission of VisualPolitik, to open up the eyes of these people and to use visual aids to be the messenger in all this?
Yeah, it's be one of these, because we are not the only one, I guess. But yeah, being to this. Yeah, be one of the guys, one of the media that helps people to understand what's going on. So it's harder to treat them as idiots, basically.
Sure. Well,
here's an example. The majority of the people, they think that Africa is poor and it's not growing and it's super bad. No, it's not. The biggest economical trend, financial trend that we are seeing in the last 5 years is all this money flowing from China to Africa. Africa is growing like crazy. Like, actually, if you want to be an investor, probably you want to go to Africa, because there are many companies that are really kickstarting, being very successful, and African societies are starting to have a middle class. People think, but here in Europe, for instance, I hear a lot of people saying, we have such a big problem with immigration. No, we don't have a problem with immigration. We're actually pretty good. It's here in Czech Republic where we stay. All this demonstration about people complaining about the Islam invasion. And it's like, dude, there may be 1% or even less than 1% of Islamic population living here.
Right.
Are you nuts? But no one tells you this data. Because when you read the newspaper, you read the extraordinary thing. Oh, wow, there is some Muslim who raped some woman or whatever. And that's, something that happened in one moment. But tell me more about what happens every day.
The problem is that story gets shared, hundreds of thousands of times through Facebook or some other, social media, and then people just think that it's true.
Well, yeah, that story gets shared, but on the other hand, we started VisualPolitik 2 years ago with no money, no one backing us, no finance, no anything, with just our own means. I bought a brand new computer and a camera, and that's all I had. And my partners, they did the same. My partners, they are also in Madrid, so they bought their own camera and their own computer. Boom! And now we have a media that's working, and it's
got a nice logo too right behind you.
Yeah, well, the logo is here. This is
really
the
cool.
VisualPolitik logo, and this is homemade. I mean, this is not paid.
Awesome,
we made everything. How do you say, from
authentically.
the bootstrap.
Yeah.
And now we have 1 million followers.
Great.
Combining the two channels. So I don't think that people only care about emotional, sensational stories. They also want to know more. The problem is that most of the media don't want to give it to them.
Fonseca, it's really interesting that you're able to marry, your love of drawing plus your love of politics and, video making all into one thing, into VisualPolitik.
Yeah.
So tell us, did that come naturally, after all these years, being political campaigns, or doing campaigns, drawing for different companies, or like how did that all come together at the very end?
I think most of the things, like when it comes to innovation, it comes from marrying different concepts that at the beginning, at the first glance, they are not together, they don't match. Like, this is like music. When you have this band who is playing hard rock and classical hard rock, just like AC/DC, these guys, they are not adding anything new. But then these guys who said, look, we're gonna combine hard rock with bossa nova and with classical music, and boom, they create a totally brand new style, right? So this is the same. If you know about politics, well, there are lots of people who know about politics.
But they might not like, video making.
If you can combine both things, then it's like, hey, wow, you created something new. So I don't think it's that rare. It's more like the foundation of any project that kind of...
It may be something that comes with age too. I think one piece of advice that's really good is to spend your 20s experimenting and doing different things, and then just there seems to be a turning point in your life when maybe you're 30 years old where you just even subconsciously call upon your experience, call upon what you did as a child and your work experience over the past few years, and somehow you're able to put it all together and it all just makes sense and fits together, which is what it sounds like you did.
I really don't like talking about, this is weird because it sounds like I'm talking a lot about me and everything, but I usually don't talk so much about my life or all these things.
No worries.
But if I look at my life, I look back, I see that everything made a lot of sense. Like, first I was making comics, then movies, then I started making political campaigns because I discovered that I like to tell stories, and then politics were like the topic I like to talk about. So I combined those two things. So I started making campaigns and then making advertising for corporate clients, and then boom, I made my own media. It's been always like pretty much part of the same. So I'm not sure if I was experimenting and then this was the conclusion, or it's just one step more. What I would say is that you gotta keep trying all the time and try to do lots of things, and some of them will work better, others will not. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you try 100, you knock on 100 doors and then one will open, but you have to knock to all these
Right. You have to
100
fail
doors
over and over and over
so
again.
you have to feel over and over and over,
Mhm.
especially if you like what you do and you have more or less clear what you where you want to end. Like, I always knew that I wanted to do something related with somehow image, communication, and maybe also somehow related with politics. So I knew that I would do something like this. What? I didn't know what, but I knew that it had to be there. And all my professional life has been like somehow connected with this. Even when I was working for corporate clients, for companies like this pharmaceutical company, it was always, my job was to explain complex ideas with graphics so it could be easy to understand for everybody.
Mm-hmm.
And this is what I was doing. Like, okay, pharmaceutical and the digestive system of a cow. Then in this other one, big data. In another one, like explaining how telecommunications work, and it was kind of the same as explaining the fiscal system of Georgia, so people can understand it and then again have fun. So.
And whatever happened to your original idea of fighting against bullying? Did you ever do anything, make a video or?
No, I mean that happened just like. This is like totally an off-topic part of my life. Like 3 years ago, there was this big case of one child who committed suicide because he was being bullied at the school.
Where?
So
which case? Or where is this?
It was in Spain.
Okay.
This I'm talking all the time about Spain. I was already living in Prague, but I saw it and I saw that then in the media, in all these talk shows and
big outrage,
and everything. So I got a little bit pissed and I said, okay, now is the time where I should do something about it. So back then I was not in VisualPolitik. It was right 1 month before we started with VisualPolitik, but I had written my book, so I had some contacts on media. So I wrote this article that got published in the media and it became kind of viral.
About this case?
Not this case, it was more about bullying. Like, my main point about bullying, and this is what I was trying to defend and to stand for, is that bullying is created by the teachers. Like, you can understand it also, politics can help you to understand bullying a lot. I think bullying is pretty much defined when, I think...
it's kind of projecting your power on somebody else.
This is more like what you have in a country like Mexico, or a dictatorship. Not Mexico is not a dictatorship, but in Mexico they used to have, and they still kind of have it, a very unfair judicial system. Like in Mexico, they didn't have trials until 2 years ago or 3 years ago. It was a very unfair system where a lot of the inmates in prisons, they were not guilty, but they were still there. What you have when you have an unfair political system where police is corrupted, the politicians are corrupted, is that people start realizing that the only thing they can survive is by being bullies. So in a classroom, you have the same. When the teacher is not creating a fair system where there are some clear rules that if you break them, you get punished. But if you don't break them, you don't get punished. If you don't have that and you have an unfair political system in the school where the government is the teacher, the students at the end of the day, even those who were meant to be nice guys, like my biggest bully, who is now my friend, he was the son of a military, and he came from a middle class family with really good education. He was not meant to be a bully. But he became a bully because it was the only way to survive. And in most of the cases, bullying starts because
It's a bad family situation.
no, it's not a bad family situation. That's my point. It's not a bad family situation, or it's not that children are not educated at home.
Some kids are assholes, though.
Some kids are assholes, though, of course, but it starts mainly because there is no responsibility on the teacher, basically. So the teacher doesn't have to care about it. And since he doesn't care about it, he creates an environment where the only way to survive is to pick one victim and say, okay, we're going to focus all the outrage on this person. So we are free. You know, it's like they could bully me because maybe I have big glasses or whatever. I'm going to try to make you the victim. I'm going to try to focus all the potential violence on you, so I'm free. So that was my experience. So I wrote it in an article that became kind of viral. So I got this meeting with the minister. So we had like other people who were like writing about it and experts and stuff like that. We prepared a report. And since the report was basically saying that if you want to solve this situation, you have to confront the teachers' unions, who are pretty important and powerful in Spain, just like in America. The difference is that in Spain they are not only left wing, they are conservative teachers unions, and you don't wanna deal with those guys. So it became like a beautiful picture, and that's it. And I don't know, maybe one day I will take it back, but it was like the only thing that I've done, okay, let's try to do something to help people.
Can I ask you, I guess on a side note, what's your opinion about the American political system, just as a European, somebody born and raised in Spain, somebody who pays very close attention to international politics? Tell us as Americans the reaction to the American political situation we're in right now.
American political situation, it's like a very generic question. Like I'm talking
about the presidency.
You mean the Donald Trump?
Yeah, and I'm talking about how Europeans view that and how it compares to the issues here in Europe, especially with the European Union.
Well, I think Donald Trump is probably the nail on the coffin of what we could call the new American century, when they said that America was the hegemon in the world, and it definitely was. And it was, I don't think it was a bad position. It's better to have America as a hegemon, which is a democracy, and it can inspire other countries to do better. It was good, but now things are changing, and I think Donald Trump is speeding up this process of America losing their position.
Yeah.
And I think that's really bad what he's doing, and he's basically importing all these marketing techniques and all this political ideology from South America, from all these populist presidents like Chavez in Venezuela and stuff like that. At the end of the day, Donald Trump is like a Hugo Chavez, but instead of being a radical left-winger, he uses a more conservative rhetoric, and he wears a tie instead of a sport wear. But that's pretty much the same.
I don't even know if he has an ideology, really. Except for himself.
No, he has an ideology, and he has created, like, you analyze his campaign from the point of view, if you analyze the campaign of Donald Trump from a Marxist point of view, it's by the book. He's done anything that you would do in Venezuela, anything that that it has been done in Argentina. Is not a pure chance that even this...
So Donald Trump, shadow Marxist?
No, it's not a shadow Marxist. It's not that he's a shadow Marxist. The thing is, Marxism is not only saying, okay, we have to kill the poor, the rich, or...
It's the way you do it.
It's the whole methodology, the dialectics, the rhetoric of a friend, enemy, all these things that are not only the they don't belong only to the communist parties, but also it's kind of connected also with any other populist politicians, like what you have in Argentina with Peronism. I would say that there is even a school of what you can call the post-Marxist thinkers, like maybe Ernesto Laclau in Argentina, Antonio Gramsci in Italy. Well, Gramsci was no, but he was a Marxist, but pretty much not like a orthodox Marxist. So, and I totally think that Donald Trump is drinking from those sources.
Okay, so I want to ask you, as somebody who is clearly a student of history, you know what's happened in these other countries, and you're claiming this is the end of American hegemony. What happens next? Call back to what happened in these other countries. Is there a power vacuum? Is China or is Germany or France going to fill this position you're calling as the leader?
Yeah, does it
the
become
free
more
world?
Multipolar? More
I
regional?
think we can go to a multipolar scenario where China is going to play a role, America will keep playing some role, and maybe Europe might play some big role. This is where I have a big discussion with my partners, because I'm like the Europeanist of the team. Like, I'm pretty much into European Union. Not to say that this is not to say that I stand or I agree with everything they do in Brussels, because it'll be stupid. It's like if you tell me that you are always in favor of whatever they do in France, right? Like, no, I don't. But in general, I like the idea. And I actually think also, going back to the Marxist analysis, I would say that Donald Trump has become the perfect antagonist to create a sense of European identity. Because back then, like prior to Donald Trump, there was no sense of European identity. Actually, being European meant it was like this pretty much like so PC, so snowflake rhetoric that no one was happy to be European. No one would say, yeah, I like European Union. You know what? Fuck off. I like European Union. No, it was like so much PC that it was even disgusting. It was like, oh yeah, we are so happy together. Let's take our hands and sing Kumbaya. And then Donald Trump came up, and all these populists, like all these Hoffel in Austria and Le Pen in France, and then all of a sudden the people who were nodding to all these populist leaders, they said, "Wait a minute,
maybe we need a strong Europe." Yeah,
I like Europe, and now is when we are seeing this kind of reaction to this populism with Macron, which. Again, this is not to say that I love Macron, whatever he does, but Macron, he's doing some
at least he's
interesting
rational
things. He's rational and he can do some good things in Europe. Also, he has some. I mean, I'm not in favor of whatever he does, but I think he's more on the closer to my ideas than anything.
Can you tell us about your opinion of these breakaway situations? For example, in your own country of Spain. With Catalonia, in that referendum.
The topic.
Can you just tell us a little bit about what's happening now, so people can understand?
Well, what's happening now, I
Very
don't know, because this is a totally soap opera. So every day there is something new and something really fun.
But you study this, you're from there. So
give us the gist. As somebody,
basically,
we don't live in Spain. We don't know what's going on. Just read some headlines and a story here and there.
Okay, Spain is a country which it's kind of federal in a way. Like we have like states, just like in America you have Texas, Kentucky, and all the different states. Well, Spain we kind of have the same. They are pretty independent in many things, like they can put different laws. For instance, bullfighting, it's legal in Catalonia. Catalonia is one of them. Bullfighting is illegal in Catalonia, and in Madrid, in the government of Madrid as a region, it's also a region. It's not only legal, it's supported by the government. So they have different laws, right? Yeah. But when it comes to spending, when it comes to economy, it's way more centralist than what people would think. So there's been always problems with the money and everything, and there's been always like different cultures. Catalonia historically, Catalonia, they have a different language. Like they speak Spanish, but they also speak Catalonian. So they kind of feel a little bit different from a Spaniard like me, who's been born in a place where we only speak Spanish, and also these economic differences when it comes to taxes and stuff like. I mean, they want to have they have more industry and stuff like that, so they wanted to have more fiscal autonomy, and they didn't have it. So the central government didn't want to give them this fiscal autonomy. So there's been always a big nationalist separatist movement. And then with the financial crisis of 2008, it hit especially hard in Spain. But it's dramatically hard, because it was not a crisis, it was totally... I would say in the case of Spain, it was not a crisis, it was a downgrade. We used to be kind of here in the Premier League, and then we went down. So, of course, no one likes to be in a country where you can feel that it's not the Premier League. And
so it made these problems worse with...
it made those problems worse. So that's how all this big movement for separating Catalonia started. This said, it's not a majority movement. We don't know, because I would say it's like 50-50. So it's very hard. You cannot say Catalonians they want to separate. You can say like 50
Some
or
do.
maybe 51 or maybe 55% of the Catalonians they want to separate, but we don't know, because that's the second thing. According to the Spanish Constitution, if you cannot it happens in Spain and basically on every country on earth. Like if you want to separate from the country, you want to break it in two parts, you're changing the constitution, because the first article in the constitution is this country has this shape, it borders with this other and this other and this other country. So if you want to change that, you should change the whole constitution, and if you want to change the whole constitution, you should make a vote in the whole country. So that's totally unrealistic. And this is when the government they went pretty inflexible with the Catalonians, and they said, because also the government of Spain is conservative, and they, as I told you at the beginning, the conservatives are pretty much into centralism, so they would never accept the Catalonians to leave the country. So
right now they're just going to be people who are going to be angry in Catalonia, but they really can't do anything about it.
Legally they can't do anything about it. They tried to make some referendums, some votings, but they were not accepted by the government because they are unconstitutional. So they sent the police. There were even some cases of police brutality, of policemen from Madrid coming to Catalonia and trying to put people away from the voting station. It's very complicated.
Is it possible for this situation to get out of hand, or you think it should be fine?
It's possible. Everything is possible.
Everything's possible.
I mean, no. I mean, out of hand, it depends. War, civil war. No, I don't think so.
Okay.
I don't think so, because
That's good.
It's like
Not like
I mean, still,
separatist organizations that are armed or anything like that.
No, there are no organizations that are armed.
You don't see
so
anything like
far.
that happening.
I don't see anything like that happening. But maybe there can be some turmoil, a lot of unhappiness, a lot of problems. I think Catalonia, one of the problems that Catalonia is having is that also they are starting to have a lot of polarization and very populist leaders on their government and the parliament. So they are starting to pass a lot of crazy laws, and that's also putting a lot of companies away from Catalonia, and the region is going worse and worse. They have the highest, or one of the highest debts in Spain, big fiscal deficit, and all of these are things that we don't talk about them now because we are outshined by the Catalonian thing, the self-determination thing, but they have a lot of economical problems. So I think probably that's what we're gonna end up having. But a civil war, I mean, I don't know. I don't dare to make predictions, but I don't think it's
not very likely.
Not very likely to happen.
I want to give. I'll do one more question here, unless you have anything else, Lewis.
Well, I'd like to hear him talk about his book. We can get to that. Yeah.
Do you want to talk about your book and tell people how to find it?
I can talk about my book, but unfortunately, it's only in Spanish. So
that's cool. There's some Spanish speakers.
If there is some Spanish speaker, well, you can read about my book if you're interested in political marketing, and also you can understand it was written before Trump came up, so but you can understand a lot of like the foundations of Trump's marketing campaign, because basically my book it's a marketing book but also a philosophy book.
What's it called?
It's called El Método Podemos, Marketing Marxista para Partidos Políticos No Marxistas. The Podemos method, Marxist marketing for non-Marxist political parties. So basically, it analyzes the strategy of a populist party in Spain, who was the spin-off of the Spanish Communist Party that became from zero to hero in just 5 months. It was one of the, I guess it was probably arguably the biggest political and marketing achievement in political history in the whole entire world, because in 5 months they went from no one knows these guys to get 5 seats on the European Parliament and be the second force in all the electoral polls. So it was like, and now they are the third biggest political party, which is like, it was in 2010. It'll be impossible even to imagine that in Spain will be more than 2 political parties, because it's a very bipartisan country, and they really kicked ass. And the way they did it was they were all academia people, and they were very clever, very smart. And what they did was taking all this Marxist philosophy. The problem with Marxist philosophy is like a hammer. If you take a hammer to try to screw a light bulb, you're gonna destroy the light bulb. But if you take a hammer and try to nail something, that's good, right? So the same happens with Marxism. If you try to use Marxism for politics and economics, you're gonna screw the country. It's not good, not the right recipe for a country. But all these Marxist philosophers, they've been working on let's say that the liberal philosophers, authors, people like Mises or Hayek, or even Stuart Mill or Bentham, or even if you go to the more like social democrats like Keynes, or I don't know, now I don't remember any other name because I'm like off topic.
Adam
but
Smith.
Anyway, Adam Smith, all these guys, all these liberal Western authors, they were caring about how the market and the society works and how to make it work better, how to govern. But the Marxist authors, they were not in power, especially the Western Marxist authors, not the Russian ones, but like people like Gramsci, like Habermas, Adorno, all these guys from Germany, Italy, South America. They were caring about not how to govern, but how to get to the government. And therefore, they were not interested like Western liberal capitalist philosophers or economists. They studied in economics, law schools, stuff like that. But you go to the Marxists and they studied psychology. They were heavily influenced by Freud, Jung, all these guys.
How to persuade people.
How to persuade people. Sociology. So you can say that Western capitalist philosophers are interested in how things works, how reality works. Marxist authors are interested in how we human beings perceive that reality. So if you want to do a marketing campaign, you want to read all these Marxist philosophers and you want to understand dialectics. So my book was translating all this Marxist jargon, which is very hard to understand because it's very obscure, the way they write and everything, and put it into a marketing terminology. So especially political analysts and political strategists in the Spanish-speaking world can understand it and they can use it for their campaigns, but it can be also applied for commercial marketing. So that was the book. It was kind of, well, I know that it influenced. I co-wrote the book with a friend. My friend became one of the leading political strategists. Is
there a website that people can order the book?
They can find it on Amazon.
It's on Amazon.
I don't think I'm not sure if there are still printed versions, but I think they made like I don't know, but I definitely they can find it on for Kindle and maybe.
All right, cool. Well, we're kind of running out of time here. I want to give you the last word.
I'd like to maybe to give advice. There's I'm sure there's some kids out there getting bullied that are really into art, drawing. They're overwhelmed by the political world, don't know what to think.
I'm sure there are many of those.
I'm sure teenagers, out there, right, for example, and you were somebody who finally, found the right path and had to overcome some things. What sort of advice can you give, let's say, kids out there that are being bullied, that are really into arts or politics or both, like you? Any words of encouragement or advice you can give these kids?
Well, I would say that, there are two temptations. I've met a lot of people who've been bullied as well, and there is always a temptation of trying to fit in. So you say...
I'm sorry, what?
Trying to fit in.
Trying to fit in. Uh-huh.
Trying to fit in. They say, well, they are beating me because probably I'm weird, so I'm gonna try to be normal. So if everyone is wearing these sneakers, I'm gonna try to ask my parents to buy me those sneakers. If everyone is into football, I'm gonna try to be into football, so I will eventually be a normal person and fit in. That's one thing you can do. You can try to become normal, and you'll be fake all the time because you will be just impersonating something you are not, and you are probably not gonna be happy. But no problem. The majority of the people is not happy either, so you'll be just one of them. You'll be normal. And another
some good advice, maybe?
Yeah, well, that's something that you can do, and that's a very legitimate thing. I'm telling you, I know a lot of people who've done that. Then another thing you can do is to focus on your rarities. That usually now they are getting you beaten, but in the future they will feed you. So it's like an investment. You are now trading a shitty childhood for a happier adulthood. So because no one's gonna help you, and well, maybe I don't know how is it in America, but definitely if you're in Spain, your teachers are not gonna help you. Your parents are not gonna understand you. So you're basically screwed up. You were born weird, and that's the way it is. But if you focus on that, you focus on what makes you different. And now it makes you weird. In the future, that's what will make you special. What I did in my case, it was like, okay, what do I like? I like movies. So I was making movies like crazy. It was my second job. I was not caring about school. I was like, okay, in the mornings I would go to the school, I would study, I would do the homework, and then afterward I would start making my comics or making my short movies, and that was my life. Like, my parents, they were extremely concerned, and even the teachers would call my parents and say, look, you have a weird guy. He's all the time thinking of the movies, drawing, making all these drawings about zombies and vampires and stuff like that. That's not normal. That's not what a teenager does. This is weird. He's watching all these classical movies from Alfred Hitchcock. He shouldn't be watching those because that's weird for a teenager. He's weird. And my parents, they were very unhappy and thinking that what's gonna happen with our child.
He'll become a Marxist.
Or he'll become something weird, but then now I live out of that. Like I pay my bills thanks that I was weird when I was a child, and now I turn this weirdness into a business that makes me reasonably happy, and
it's a good life,
and have the life I want to have. So I would say that you're focus on that. Try to take it, turn it into your job. Be obsessed, and because most of the weird things come from obsessions, and
be obsessed.
All
right. Good parting words. Thanks for being here, man. Really appreciate it.
Thanks a lot, Fonseca.
Thanks for inviting me. Pleasure.
Hey, thanks for watching this episode of Do This With Your Life. Now, I've got a question for you. Do you know anyone specifically that you think this episode could help? If so, please share this podcast with that person. The purpose of this show is to help people overcome challenges, solve problems, and take the next step in life. If you think that's a worthy cause, please visit our website, dothispodcast.com, and click on the button to become a patron of our show. Any little donation helps. We're also on Facebook and Twitter. There you can follow us, you can leave comments, ideas for future shows, and receive notifications every time we release an episode. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel, and remember, you are the reason we do this podcast.